What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for the other day I talked about Wendy's and how, to me, it's okay to break that cardinal rule of sitting and going over a stock and looking at the numbers and doing, this large technical analysis on whether or not you feel like it's the right time to buy or not. And sometimes it's fun just to have an emotional buy and say, you know what, I'm going to buy restaurant X or I'm going to buy brand Y because I like their product and I believe in it, and that's enough for me. And sometimes, if that's all it takes, then that's all it takes, and I'm okay with that. I know there's plenty of people that aren't, but me personally, I'm here to have fun too, not just invest. And if I'm not going to be entertained, if I'm not going to have fun, then, I'm not going to want to do it. Now, I looked into Americold Realty, and there was a couple things that turned me off into buying more. I only bought one share. You can see here I'm up, basically $2. But at the same time, one of the reasons I wasn't buying more is I'd constantly seen that upward trend, and I thought to myself, company continues to hit highs. Do I really want to buy at an all-time high and then have it just drop off? And I waited for that drop off. And yes, I found it, and yes, I should have bought more and I didn't. But again, that's part of learning and growing as an investor. Of all the things that told me I should have invested more and went with my normal rule of $100 or $150, I didn't, and now I'm in a position where I'm not gaining what I should have. But I wanted to kind of also talk a little bit about how personal life experiences can impact us when we're looking at stocks. Doesn't all have to be, the hardest thing in the world to sit down and pore over financial data to determine whether you want to invest in a company. So when I graduated, I had a friend of mine went out to a trade school, called me a couple months later, said, Ryan, he knew my family was involved in HVAC. He said, you need to get out here. You need to get involved in commercial refrigeration. You have no idea how much money there is to be made here. These restaurants, these grocery stores, listen, they lose tens of thousands of dollars if the refrigeration or freezer units go down. I get called out at 2 a.m. I fix these things. I'm making money hand over fist, and there's always going to be a need for this. It's a very boring job, mind you, but boring as an investor is what I look for. And when you have something that's boring, like owning, developing, and transporting frozen foods, something that is pretty much always going to be needed, that's a solid investment. That's a mindful investment. This company's been around since 1931. As a matter of fact, a lot of companies will try to sell you to invest in their company. And by that, I mean they'll put out some promotional videos for investors, whether it's on their website, whether it's on YouTube. They actually have a pretty cool one over at Americold Realty. It actually shows back in the 1930s, 1940s, a horse and buggy drawn refrigeration transportation, effort. God knows what only these two guys were doing, but, clearly they were doing the same thing that needs to be done today, just almost 100 years ago, where they're out taking food that's perishable, making sure that it's sustained, and transporting it to people that need it. And in my opinion, that's always going to be something that's needed. Period. I don't think there's going to be a day where we go back to a point where we're not having refrigeration anymore. It just seems illogical. Could it happen? Certainly. In my lifetime? Probably not. So, just kind of another lesson. Sometimes you look at things and you tell yourself, I should be buying more of this. But you allow some external force, whether it's you want to invest in another company more, or whether it's you saw a couple things that you're just not clear about. Sometimes when you do this, you make the right decision to not invest. And that's important to learn from those lessons as well. But times like this, when you have so many things that are pointing you in the right direction, you often can't let the one or two things that aren't push you away. Because now I'm in a position where, I do now want to invest more in Americold, and I have to wait for it to drop in order to do that. Because I learned more about the company, kind of the concerns I had have eased a little bit, and I do feel that it's going to continue to grow and help me reach my goals by not only increasing their value, increasing their dividends, and making sure that I can continue to trust them to move forward in a field that I know is going to continue to grow and be prosperous. Love to know your thoughts on this. Appreciate you checking it out. I will be back in the week with more commentary.